All right, what is going on, everybody? Good morning. It is day 44 of no gambling. I'm feeling good this morning. I've been busy as hell with, if you've been following along, you know that I took on a weekend job, and it's a physical and early rising job. I'm coaching downhill ski racing. So, what that means is oftentimes on the weekend, I got to wake up just as early, if not even earlier, than I do for my regular Monday to Friday job. So, I've been a little tired, but today I had no morning clients. In fact, my first client is not until 12 o'clock noon. So, I get to sleep in a little bit, which is making me feel pretty refreshed. So yeah, I figured I would just hop on here. I know it's been about a week. I think the last video that I made was last Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, so it's been about a week since I made a video. But we are going strong. We are going good. The urge to gamble is significantly reduced. I know that I've said that a couple times, but um, it's holding up true. I haven't really had any of that, you know, sinking back into the same mentalities. Now, I mean, in the large scheme of things, it's probably a good thing. Again, if you're following along, you know that in the last video, um, originally only my mother knew about the situation, and then prior to the last video, she had told my father about it, so my father knows about it too. He and I had, a serious heart-to-heart conversation about it, which in the moment it always sucks, but like I said, in the grand scheme of things, is probably better. And this goes to you guys, everybody out there, right? The more external accountability that you can create and the greater support system that you can create, the better. Gambling is a lonely, lonely addiction. And I know that when I was in the height, I've gone through various phases. There's been phases where I've been all the way freaking in, and there's been phases where I've been half in, half out. And there's been phases like now where I've been out. But when I know that when I was all the way in, it was like you just want to shut everybody out. And it was a real problem because even my girlfriend, I was starting to shut her out. And an example of this, let's say I'm at the computer and I'm gambling, but I don't want her to know because, well, I don't want her to know the extent of my addiction or my problem. I'm embarrassed about it, right? These are usually, some of the emotions that come alongside with the gambling problem, because you know that what you're doing is not good. It's not healthy, especially if, you've got through the honeymoon phase where, you're winning money and you're like, oh, this is great. Once you cross over the hump to the realization that long-term gambling is always a loss, you start to get into the loss. Maybe you're chasing losses. Maybe you're in debt. You know that the gambling is bad, but somehow you continue to do it. And along with that comes feelings of embarrassment, shame, self-hatred. How could I do this to myself? What is wrong with me? Why do I keep doing this? And naturally, you don't want to share those things with other people, right? Because it sucks. And so let's say I was here at this computer. I got online casino open in one tab, and I'll have like a YouTube video or something else that I'm doing in the other tab. And I'll be playing the game, whatever it is, slots, blackjack. And, my girlfriend, being the sweet and wonderful woman that she is, will come over and just see what I'm doing and give me a little shoulder rub and just check in on me and say hi. And I would get angry. Like I wouldn't express it, but inside, all I'm thinking is like fuck, go away. Why are you here now? I just want to fucking gamble. Like I gotta change the tab back to the YouTube video. I want to keep playing this slot. Like this is like the to my to your girlfriend that you love. This is what the problem is making you think. So, anyways, my point with this is the addiction forces you or tries to make you isolate. It makes you push people away, and you're left alone with not only the addiction, but also all of the crappy emotions and the turmoil, the mental issues that come with that. And it's usually for me that after the fact, when you stop gambling, when you loaded up your money for the day and whatever happened, I mean, usually if I won, I felt okay, but that's just a trap because most of the time I lost and I really felt crappy after. And then you'd just be by yourself with that crappy feeling. So my point being, the more people close to you that you know and trust, that know about your problem, the more that you are accountable to others and not just yourself. You're not just in it alone to try to get out of that problem. Because, I've definitely felt with experience that when you try to tackle this by yourself, it's extremely hard because a couple reasons. Oftentimes you just need a hard third party reality check, right? We are rationalizers. The gambling brain will rationalize your addiction, or it will try to create logical scenarios, logical reasons why you should gamble, because your brain wants to scratch that itch. It wants that fix of dopamine. It wants that feeling that it's craving. But your logical brain knows it's bad. So the emotion will try to influence the logic and start saying, oh, just one time, or, you just got paid today. It's okay. You can play a little bit. Or, maybe, this is just the last time, just one more time. Why not? Right? Like all of these little, justifications. And when you sit down and you have to not only vocalize the problem out loud to somebody else, but to hear their response, and given that, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, because as I've done it with this community here, the support from strangers has been freaking amazing. And if that's what you need to do, well, Gamblers Anonymous meetings, for example, is an option. But for me, having somebody, close to me that I respect and love, give you like a hard reality check of like, to shut down some of those, maybe those preconceived notions or those lies, rationalizations that you've been telling yourself. When you hear somebody else just like squash it, like that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, what are you thinking? How, it can definitely help to contextualize things. And I think that the more voices that you have that are reminding you that, this is not what you want to do, this is not good, and it makes it easier to shut down the rationalization voice that's trying to convince you to go back to gambling. Just drink my coffee here. So, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a good thing, that my dad found out and we had that conversation. And again, thanks to everybody that commented, showed their support on the last video, because I don't know why, for me, like, I mean, I said it in the last one, but I'm really putting myself out there with these videos, like I'm pretty exposed. I'm really putting my heart out on the table. And then to talk details about finances to the internet full of strangers, for me, that is like, it's a little uncomfortable. So, it was tough to talk about, the numbers and everything. But at the same time, it's good and it's necessary. And I think you have to confront the facts. And that's oftentimes, again, another little strategy, like a mishap and a counteractive strategy when I was actively addicted, actively gambling. I would try to avoid looking at my bank account because mentally I didn't want to deal with the repercussions and deal with the consequences that I had created for myself. And when you're in that mode of chasing, or you're in the redepot mode, you know, you put in the money and you lose and you say, fuck it, I'm putting another and I'm putting another and I'm putting another. And maybe you're not keeping an exact tally or you just don't want to think about it. But before you realize it, you've made 4, 5, 6 redepositions when maybe originally you had told yourself you were just going to, you know, put a little bit, and a little bit turns into a lot. And then you just don't want to look at that number because you don't want to confront the damage. So be truthful with yourself about what those numbers are. Like, you got to look at that bank statement and see the damage that you've done, and then usually that will give you a pretty hard check of like, oh god, like what have I done? I can't do this again, you know. But again, if you have others that are corroborating that as well, it strengthens you know, your drive to try to shut down that voice, and it's been helpful for me. So yeah, lots of comments supporting. I do appreciate you know, all of the comments. I want to take a look here and scroll through and see if there's actually any specific ones that I want to address, as I like to do. I like to, you know, discuss in more detail than just responding to comments, and also highlight, you know, when I see people that are making really good points, really good advice. I want to share that as well. So there was one thing, and you know, this is kind of an interesting concept, but I was talking about how, you know, I wanted to have, you know, obviously I'm trying to pay down the debt, but I was also trying to put away like a little bit of money, not a lot, but like an emergency fund, let's say, you know, $1,000 or something, just to have on the side in the case that an emergency expense arrives, that I have some money there to put towards it so that I don't have to dip into the debt. But somebody made a comment, you know, saying, hey man, like, don't worry about that, just focus on the debt. And, you know, when I think about it, it's kind of interesting, but logically it works out. And the reason why I say it's interesting is you're kind of taking a gamble, right? So here's the situation, right? Let's say I put $1,000 to the side in anticipation that there could be an unexpected expense. Now, what this means is that's, you know, let's say $1,000 less put towards the debt, which is an additional $1,000 that I'm paying interest on, based on a hypothetical situation. So realistically, it's actually probably better for me to put everything towards the debt. You're taking a slight risk that if something happens, you will have to use debt to pay it. But it's better to have all of the money put towards the debt so that you're paying, one, you're paying less interest, and two, could be a long time before an unexpected expense occurs, right? So this is why it's kind of like a risk, or, you know, you're taking a risk in doing it, but that risk is actually more beneficial because all of the time that you have that money put towards the debt, not only are you bringing the debt down, you're paying less interest on it. You're kind of in the same, like, let's say, we keep it to $1,000, right? Let's just say I got $1,000 and I put it towards the debt, and that's $1,000 less that I have to pay down in the future, and that's $1,000 less that I have to pay interest on. And let's say 6 months down the road, something happens to my car and I got to pay $1,000. Well, it's better for me to just put that $1,000 at that point 6 months down the road onto the debt, as I would have saved a decent amount of interest expenses during those 6 months period. And and I would still have to pay the $1,000 anyways, whether it's sitting in an emergency fund, savings account, or whether it's, you know, being paid down towards a credit card, for example. Um, so it's kind of a, interesting situation, but it makes sense. So basically, yeah, aside from like bills, everything's got to go towards the debt. That's kind of the realization. And, right now is the end of the month. So obviously, bills are coming up. Thank goodness that I'm okay. I have all my money for my rent and my money for my dues to the gym that I pay to bring my clients there, um, and the money for my insurance and all of that stuff is good to go. It's in the account, ready to be sent out, in the next couple of days as all of the bills come out at the end or the beginning of the month. So to me, that's a win. It's another month with all bills paid and progress made towards the debt. Now, a couple things that I'm looking at doing with the price of precious metals being as high as they are right now. I am looking at trying to sell. I've got a big coin collection with a decent amount of like silver coins. I've got a bunch of silver jewelry that I really don't wear so much anymore, like a couple thick bracelets, a couple of chains. Um, so I'm thinking about, just basically trying to sell them. Like I don't wear the jewelry. It's silver jewelry that I've either accumulated over the years or been gifted or whatever. I realistically usually I just wear one chain every day, so I don't really mind offloading some of the extra jewelry to maybe get a little bit of cash, put that towards the debt. So that's one thing I'm looking at right now, just because silver, gold is at all-time highs. So yeah, we got an appointment to go to a local coin and currency exchange next week. So we'll see what they can give me for the coin collection and some of the jewelry. Even if it's like $500 or something, that would be great. But yeah, so maybe that's something you can consider. Obviously, it sucks. Nobody wants to have to sell off their belongings, but if you're in a similar situation where you've accumulated debt and the priority is just bring it down, if you can look around at things that you own that are valuable that you don't really use, you don't have a sentimental connection to, like there's things that I would never sell. Like I own a watch. Watch was a gift. It's a valuable watch. It's a Swiss watch. I would never sell it, even though I could get thousands of dollars for it. I would never sell that because that was a gift from my father, and you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. You don't want to get rid of. But if you have stuff lying around that's worth money, you don't really use it. It's things that you wear, things that you use that you haven't used in over a year, 2 years. Could be worth just selling them off and putting that money towards the debt, right? Especially things that are replaceable. Things like this silver jewelry that I'm talking about. If I want to, in a year or two from now, if I'm in a good financial position, I could easily go and buy the same jewelry back. So that's something to consider as well. So I'll keep you updated. Hopefully I get some money for the collection and the jewelry to make a little bit of a dent. But yeah, that's one comment. Let me see if there's any other comments here. We got Solomon Laxton. Lost over $2,500 gambling, and he's 17 years old. 17 years old, man. Our society is so screwed up right now. It's amazing. Introduced to crypto and Counter-Strike casinos. Tragic, man. But it's okay. 2,500. You're young. 2,500. I know for you right now, 17 years old is probably a lot of money. But he says today is my first day being sober. Dude, just keep it that way. you'll be fine. If you can learn your lesson now at 17, you'll be great, right? Just you got a lot of time. You're just at the end of high school. Just plug the hole, stop the leak, you know. And once you start working, money's coming in. Just focus on saving, and you'll be good. Um, we got MJ. He says, "Buddy, I gambled from 25 until 39, and it's not worth it to ever go back down that road. I realized it's been in between that time where I stayed away for a full year, and then I lost 55K in 5 days. Finally getting my life on track. I missed out on so much of my life because of my problem gambling. Never go down that road. Your life will be so much better. Believe me, you're gold. It's been 2 years since I last gambled. Great work, man. I've traveled to places I never thought of being. I bought a place in a nice car. And you deserve so much more in life. Stay strong. And if anybody else is reading this who is a problem gambler, do not go back. It's endless, dead, and miserable." Yeah, so, I mean, great work, man, for being 2 years free and, reminding us of the severity of the problem. 55K in 5 days, it just goes to show that there's always levels to this, right? The last comment was 2,500, and that was devastating. This guy, 55K, and that's devastating. It really doesn't matter if you're poor, middle, rich. This affects anybody. And I've had the idea in my mind before that like people that have a lot of money, well, they can afford to gamble, but people with a lot of money just end up gambling more, and it can become just as big of a problem because what's 2,500 to one person is 55K to another person, right? So just be wary of that. If you're somebody that feels wealthy, feels cushy, you got a nice savings, you're good, feel like you're okay to gamble, you could be one of these people that doesn't have an addictive personality. But even if you're in a great spot financially and you feel that you're sinking into that gambling addiction, then it's important to take steps, because no matter how much money you got, it can all go in an instant, you know? So yeah, thank you for putting that comment. Somebody's saying, avoid the consolidation loan, just knock them out one by one and reward yourself as you do. Debt is as much a mental game as it is a math problem. I agree with this, and this is something that I've had to have a little bit of a back and forth with my mother about, because my mother, she doesn't understand the psychological side. She can't really relate. She's a very straight-laced woman. She's never been addicted to anything. She doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke. She's never been a partier. She's always been very moderate. So she can't really understand, the mental side of things. And she's just very focused on like the numbers, right? And like you need to have you need to have this clear plan, and it needs to be all in one place, and you need to be paying X amount. And it's like the gambling mind, like you said, it's as much a mental problem as it is a math problem. And well, the first thing is, before you can fill the bucket, you got to plug the hole, right? Which is step one of stopping gambling. And then step two is, yeah, like you said, rewarding yourself, like figuring out ways to make the progress feel like wins. And to me, the way that I have it structured right now, I think it is better for me to, rather than consolidating everything between the credit card and LOC into one monthly payment, is just essentially, for the time being, let the debt that's on the LOC ride that interest, because that's the lowest interest. It's lower than what it would be if I were to get a consolidation loan. So let that ride and just focus all of my energy on the credit card, step one. Because excuse me. Yeah. Credit card has the highest interest rate. It's also a smaller balance. So if I can put all of my eggs into bringing that down and, kind of set some milestones and reward myself for those milestones, whether that's Like I've said before, taking a little bit of money, $100, $200, and taking my girlfriend out to a nice dinner or doing something nice for me or the two of us. $100, $200 spent as a reward for making progress towards your debt and as a reward for staying true to not gambling is completely worth it, and is also significantly less money than you would have spent if you were gambling and not paying down your debt. Right? So I think that is a really good way of doing it, and creates that mental feedback loop of progress. And progress comes with its own sort of dopamine and satisfaction, which generally is, what we're looking for when we're gambling. We're looking for that dopamine. We want to feel good. We want to feel hopeful. It's the what if that keeps us coming back. And if you can create some of that sensation of satisfaction, hopefulness, dopamine through real progress, either working on your job, working on your hobby, or a passion project that makes you feel good, or in this instance, rewarding yourself for the progress that you've made by doing something nice for yourself or something nice for those close to you, can provide you that sense of satisfaction and keep you moving forward on that path. So, this is a bit of a longer video, but that's okay. If you're still watching, thank you so much. But yeah, so that's the plan. Continue bringing down the credit card, and then go for the LOC after that. I'll just scroll through a little bit here, see if there's anything else. Mostly is, oh yeah, I had one person say, just a request, can you turn up your volume a little bit? So I brought my mic closer and I'm trying to talk a little bit louder, so hopefully you guys can hear me well. But yeah, I think that is just about everything that I wanted to cover. Oh yeah, one one thing that I wanted to mention, I had to ban somebody from the Discord. So if you come into the Discord, please do not be bragging about your finances, whether that's money that you've made in investments, whether that's certainly not money that you've won from gambling, right? We don't want none of that. We don't want you talking about gambling positively. We don't want you offering alternative forms of gambling. So to contextualize this, basically the guy, he's in the Discord. He was in there for a little bit and he was okay. And then I pop in there and I see he's like dropping links to some CS skins. And he's like, oh, if you had just put your money into CS skins instead of gambling, you'd be rich. And I'm like, buddy, buying CS skins is just as gambling as gambling is. It's a gamble. You're buying NFTs essentially and hoping that their value goes up. And guess what? Valve has complete control over the market. They can do whatever they want, as anybody that's involved with CS knows with the recent knife trade up update, just how much of an impact they can make. At that time, I had CS skins. I had probably a couple $1,000s worth of knives. Guess what? The value tanked, right? So any kind of speculative, highly risky investment, whether you're trading options, whether you're trading crypto, whether you're trading Counter-Strike skins, is a form of gambling. Okay, now investment and gambling are closely related, and I would say that essentially they exist on a slider of, how risk to non-risky are we? And the riskier that we get, the more that it's considered gambling, And the less risky, the more that it's considered an investment. And of course, there are ways that you can invest where you're essentially taking no risk. For example, a GIC, or taking a small risk, for example, investing in ETFs or, stock indexes. If you buy the S&P 500 on average over its entire lifetime, it goes up 10% every year. Still doesn't mean it's going to go up 10% this year, right? It could go down just as much as it could go up. But with these sorts of conservative investments, you can genuinely call it an investment, provided that you're in it for the long term. The riskier that you get and the shorter term that you get, the more that directly becomes gambling. Okay? Day trading is a form of gambling. All right? And I understand even if you're the best day trader in the world, you got your system down pat, you're skewing the odds in your favor. At the end of the day, you never know what is going to happen in the market. And so if you're taking short-term trades, if you're taking leverage trades, it's gambling. So just be careful with that, right? If you're somebody that's trying to get out of gambling, don't just go from gambling on money to gambling on CS skins or gambling on crypto, because it's essentially the same behavior. And as I explained in my first video, they can easily mold into each other, because once I started investing, again, this is a form of rationalization, right? Like I was saying before, this is your brain telling you, no, this isn't gambling. Gambling, bad. Investing, good. Buying CS skins, oh, that's investing. I'm going to hold these skins for the long term, and I'm not going to sell them. Well, guess what? That turned into gambling on skins, and then gambling on skins turned into gambling on money, right? So if you have a problem, you need to essentially exclude yourself from the behavior altogether. So if you come into the Discord, do not be coming in promoting other forms of gambling or saying, hey, come and trade, you should trade options, or, you should do a 10x leverage crypto trade, whatever. You will get warned, you will get banned. And this guy just blatantly, I warned him 2-3 times. I was like, dude, stop talking about this. He kept going. I gave him an official warning. He kept going, and I just banned him because I was like, this guy doesn't deserve to be here. He's not helping anybody. In fact, he might make somebody have a relapse through his dangerous ideas. His ideas are dangerous for people like us that are trying to stop, right? So just a reminder to stay vigilant, and also just to note that, I am keeping the Discord clean of any of that kind of potentially damaging conversation. I will continue to drop. I know that I've had comments saying that, the Discord link expires. I guess, I've tried maybe the ones in the old videos, but whenever I post a video, I get a new link. So either check the description or the pinned comment for the link if you're watching this video. If I see you commenting and saying that the link is expired, I will do my best to send it a link directly to your comment as well, so long as I catch it. But yeah, 44 days. We're coming up. That's a month and a half. So we're getting to 2 months. And yeah, the progress is good. So again, this is a pretty long video here. If you're here still watching, thank you so much. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for subscribing, following along. I hope that you are doing well as well. If you're in the Discord, my username is Cheeky. So you can feel free to send me a message or talk to anybody in there if you need to. But thanks, guys. And let's have a great day today. And let's keep it going. All right? Have a good one.